and then I must be fooled.
Good morning from Amsterdam and welcome to DEPT Trends 2025. The future belongs to the impatient. My name is Ali. I'm SVP of Growth and Head of the UK and Ireland here at DEPT, and I have the privilege of being your host today. And if you're anything like me, when you received the invite for this event, you had to Google, does time really go more quickly as you go older? Because I can't quite believe that we're saying goodbye to 2024 and looking forward to 2025. But it is time. We say goodbye to 2024, a year where we leapt forward in terms of technology, but also found ourselves craving more human connection. It was a year where AI felt like it entered the mainstream, no longer just a buzzword where we talked about in events like this, but actually powering our smart homes and also some of the biggest businesses in the world right now. But on the converse of that, it was also a time where we had a certain sense of nostalgia for a time of the past, a time maybe pre-smartphone, a time where we had real human connections. And that nostalgia was nowhere better seen than in Brat Summer. We had to talk about Brat Summer in a look back at 2024. It was Collins Dictionary's word of the year. But what's interesting is that as soon as it became Collins Dictionary's word of the year, it was over. Charlie XCX on the 2nd of September saying goodbye Brat Summer forever. I think this shows the power of celebrity and the power of fandom in 2024. And we saw that beyond Charlie XCX, fandoms reigned supreme in 2024. So whether or not you were one of the 4 million people globally that were lucky enough to attend the Eras tour, or you're one of the 30 million people that plays Fortnite every single day, we found that celebrities and fandoms in 2024 were the tastemakers of their time. And brands naturally wanted to get involved. But the tricky thing there is that celebrities, fandoms, they're fallible, just like we all are. And so the higher the pedestal, the further you have to fall. And ultimately, because we're all fallible, you often do fall. And that was no better, no more relevant than in 2024 when over 40% of the world's population went to the polls. That's kind of pretty unprecedented. And what's really interesting is when you look at the results of those 40% of the polls, we saw that in almost every single developed economy that went to the polls, the incumbent lost vote share. So what does that mean for us into the end of 2024 and looking into 2025? Well, change will be the only constant. Now, one thing which did unite us all around the globe was the iconic Olympics. Whether or not it was the epic moments of Simone Biles showing us why she really is the greatest of all time, to the weird and wonderful friendship between Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart in the equestrian events. One thing which was interesting this year was that the internet co-wrote the story of the games alongside the journalists, whether or not that's Turkey's sharpshooters or breakdancing Australians. And finally, Gen Alpha has arrived, the first AI native generation. We're seeing that they really are showing up in our socials, which is kind of crazy, but also in their spending power. They are buying Stanley Cups and skincare at, to be honest, a slightly alarming rate. So after that very brief recap of 2024, what's today about? Well, we're going to look forward at 2025 and some of the themes which we're seeing. We're going to first talk about how we move forward from just the hype of AI into real business impact. We're going to be talking about how we ignite big creative ideas with AI. We're going to then talk about how brands can take part in trending topics on the social channels without ruining those trends. And then we move on to the new era of commerce. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, we touch on how we can be ethical organizations that still move fast and move at the speed of culture. So what are some of the trends which we're seeing? Well, first, the obsession of 2024's using AI for cost cutting and speeding up content, we think will only scratch the surface of what AI can do. And we believe that in 2025, businesses will be rethinking how they run their businesses using AI. And that's because we think that those ambitious businesses will move further, faster. This is an interesting quote from Jamie Allen from NVIDIA. He talks about being comfortable with long transformation processes in the last 20 years. But with AI, those transformation processes will move at a much quicker rate. The speed of computing accelerating, those long cycles are becoming obsolete. Other companies will move faster. And what that means is that things which might seem groundbreaking today will soon become the new normal. On the screen today, you'll see a campaign which we delivered using pretty much only generative AI, from the 3D model of the car to all of the backgrounds you see circling through. Now, we might pat ourselves on the back and think that that's really innovative today, but I think we'll see that becoming the norm over the coming years. And that's because we're starting to realize that AI, rather than replacing creativity or creatives, actually can be their superpower. It's the ability to bring those ideas to life, to have a vision and then show that to other people using generative AI. And it won't replace creatives, because ultimately building real brand connections can't be done using AI. And even if it could, when AI becomes table stakes, how can you differentiate your brand? I guarantee you that AI is not going to tell you that somebody ironing a shirt on a surfboard in a wonderful Italian Riviera situation is going to drive luxury coding, but that's what Jacques Mousse is doing to excellent effect. We will also see that genuine communities and connection will never be more important. So that might be from a real true customer insight, like this one from Nike on the left-hand side. If anybody has ever run a marathon, half marathon, or to be honest, even a 5K, you'll know how walking down steps the next day feels like. And Nike has done such a great job of tapping into that truth. But on the other side, you have the weird and wacky and wonderful, and always referenced Duolingo. Now, what we'll see next year, we think, is that creators are really going to be driving these communities as well as brands. And that's because 70% of consumers say that they trust recommendations from creators. So they're going to be really impactful. We also need to make sure that we are where customers are searching for us, and where they're searching for us is changing. We expect to see about 25% reduction in traditional search volumes by 2026. And that means that we have to think about where customers are searching for us, whether or not it's on new search engines like Perplexity or even the TikTok feed, and making sure that we are there and answering their questions and being seen. And then finally, and as I alluded to, perhaps most importantly, what we need to do is make sure that we are showing ethical leadership with our innovation. These things have never been done before, and it's incumbent on us, the people who are innovating and doing things for the first time, to ensure that when we're doing it, it's ethical and we're thinking about all of the ramifications, not just in the short term, but also the mid and long term. So that's a very brief overview of 2024 and looking into 2025. But now let's dive into our first topic. Our first topic is all about going beyond just hype, talking about doing AI, to actually impact how AI can impact real business results. And we'll hear from Job and Nagina on that topic.
Thank you, Ali, for the great introduction. So AI has become part of everyday business, with over 72% of organizations adopting it in some way. Initially, there was a lot of excitement around AI in the past year, as if it were a magic fix for all our business problems. But as companies started to implement AI, we quickly realized it's not that simple. So today we're going to highlight 5 trends from my trend report. We have 11 trends in total, and touch upon how they are moving from hype to impact and accelerate AI transformation in general. The first trend, maybe the least sexy, but the most important and often overlooked, the data foundation. While data has always been important, becoming AI native as an organization requires more than just good algorithms. You need a modern data foundation as your backbone. This means centralizing all your business data and customer data to create this unified customer profile, and actually centralize all your structured and unstructured data. Unstructured data like video, text, speech, and images. Because modern AI models, called multimodal AI, can work with all these different kinds of data types and can actually extract meaning from text, video, speech, and so on. This is how we as humans are communicating. And there's a vast array of information in that data that we can leverage. So think of your data platform as the beating heart of your organization, with AI technology sitting on top of it. But remember, AI itself is no longer a unique selling point. Using AI is not a differentiator, but the data and the data completeness you feed into the systems is actually making a real impact and can differentiate you from the competition. The next trend is, we are speaking about it for years already, but finally, hyper-personalization can actually become reality. As brands, we want to create an engaging customer experience across all digital channels. We want to create a coherent tone of voice and actually guide our customers through the customer journey and serve them best. This requires the data platform, as we just discussed, because this is the fuel and input for all the AI models that are actually predicting what content, messages, and strategies are best for each individual customer. This will maximize experience and minimize ad fatigue. So we are really moving into a world where no experience will be the same. No single experience will be the same. I really like the example of how Just Eat Takeaway uses AI to produce content at scale for personalization. They are incorporating restaurant nuances and customer data to target the right customer with the right message at the right time. Next is maybe the most debated and discussed trend of the last year, namely AI in the workplace. AI is not coming to the workplace, it's already here. Everybody is using it. Right now, companies are integrating it to automate tedious tasks and speed up content creation. Even at Google, 25% of the code is already written or generated by AI. But there's something that's really critical to understand and to also leverage behind this success. Because behind successful AI implementations are skilled humans who understand both the technology and the business and can actually make the bridge between the two realms. So AI value creation isn't just about the technology. It's also about people and the processes that are similarly important. So success really comes from empowering your workforce with the right tools, encourage experimentation, and provide the right guidance from AI experts to accelerate this transformation. That's when we move from the hype to real measurable impact. But AI is also making an impact on search and how we are consuming information online. Isn't that right, Nagina?
Yes, you're completely right, Job. So indeed, AI is fundamentally changing the way we search for information online. So instead of clicking through several website links to find the right answer, you now receive AI-generated answers directly within your search results. And this is quite interesting because this means that we are basically moving towards a zero-click world where brands have been forced to fundamentally change their SEO strategies that they have been doing for years to remain visible via search engines like Google and Perplexity. So brands already have been making great steps to do that by changing the website content in such a way that they increase the likelihood of being featured in these AI-generated answers via search engines like Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Google. At that, we already have been doing a lot of research on this when it comes to generative engine optimization called GEO, where we basically analyze and mimic AI overviews to identify the attribution and the impact of these links on how they shape these AI-generated answers. And those insights brands can actually use to optimize their content in a more efficient and automatic way, eventually increasing the chances of being highlighted in these search engines like Perplexity and Google. But when it comes to all these different AI toolings and its unlocked value, it is good to be aware that AI is a democratizer and not a differentiator. And what I mean with that is that every brand has now access to really good quality AI solutions like Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT Enterprise. You can basically see is that AI is just leveling the playing field like every technology has been doing for years. So just using AI alone will not make you stand out. What does make the difference, however, is how you use your proprietary data and your creativity on how you apply the data to strengthen your branding. A really good example is, for instance, Starbucks. They have been heavily investing in operational efficiencies using AI, but they still have difficulties with their branding and increasing that loyal customer base. On the other hand, Perplexity, they are very creative in how they use their data and technology to solve users' need in a very novel way. So compared to the competitors, they were very early with show the most up-to-date information in these search AI-empowered search engines and also making references to actual website links. And bringing that novelty in a very early stage makes them now allowing to compete against search giants like Google and ChatGPT. So to summarize these key trends of 2024, just the highlights, you need to have a very solid data foundation in place for delivering the dream of hyper-personalization. This will also accelerate how employees are using AI as a collaborative partner, and also how brands are changing their SEO strategy to remain visible. But in the end of the day, it's good to keep in mind that AI is just a democratizer, not your differentiator. It is how you use your data and your creativity to strengthen your branding. And when it comes to 2025, brands will level up the AI game. So as Ali mentioned, this year was a huge focus on reducing costs and increasing operational efficiency. But in 2025, the real value is shown in how you reimagine your business operations, how we make smarter decision making with the help of AI, and how we increase relevancy to our customers. Thank you. Over to you, Ali.
Thank you so much, Nagina, and thank you so much, Job. I think really interesting there in terms of the foundations that we're building with AI. Now, one thing I love about DEPT is we're going to go over from foundational SEO and data all the way through to the other end of the spectrum with Martin, who's going to be talking about how we use AI to ignite creativity.
Yes, thank you, Ali, and welcome to these Trend Talks. Before we look back at 2024, I want to introduce myself, of course. I'm Martin Kuipers, Art Director at DEPT. And today we're going to look back at 2024 because what an interesting year it was for AI, with a dramatic leap forward in some very specific areas I want to highlight later. And of course, we look forward to 2025. First, AI is everywhere nowadays. From major soccer teams like Paris Saint-Germain to using AI in their marketing, to Pink Floyd choosing AI-assisted video as a grand winner of the Dark Side of the Moon contest. And Spotify choosing your next tunes with AI, or The Simpsons releasing an episode scripted by AI. It's literally everywhere. And special kudos to your mom for organizing her holidays with ChatGPT. Even there it is. And we are finally seeing the digital and physical spaces merge together. One can't make an omelette without breaking eggs, right? So the announced messiahs such as Humane or Rabbit R1 earlier this year have been a bust. But we surely and slowly enter a world where the word digital will be pointless. And creative people do creative things, obviously. And companies like Meta with their Orion glasses, or Simulon with their AAA VFX tool sitting in your pocket, Or this demo in this slide showing how 3D, AR, and AI could converge are surely showing us the possibilities of AI nowadays, merging tools together. And speaking of creatives, the ultimate skill in 2024 wasn't about prompting, but about leveraging your imagination muscles to find the smartest and most efficient way to bridge the never-ending flow of tools coming on the market each week. Each day almost. And a few examples are here. We have people leveraging video-to-video workflows to recreate new VFX situations, AI-generated backgrounds for film, and early attempts at leveraging AI for UI, like tools Galileo, and 3D design like tools like Spline, and so on. And speaking of the devil, here's a project we have built at Dog Studio in collaboration with Coca-Cola between January and March this year, which was a really fast project. So we built our very own frameworks for them based on Comfy UI, allowing us to dig into recently released libraries and build up something allowing us to go from 2D handmade illustrations, animations, to that claymation-inspired result, with, of course, lots of iterations, manipulations going on there. And it was a really long process, tons of R&D, lots of failed attempts, but we eventually figured out a way to get us where we wanted. So people don't care really about AI for AI, but they will need a good story to care about a film. In the end, we produced a movie we are proud of. Tons of AI used, of course, but also traditional VFX processes to make it come together. AI is no magic shortcut. It's good to understand that. And it can shave time off some tasks, but there's definitely still some hard work to make something decent out of it. And this is a bit the paradox of working with AI, right? The more control needed, the more time you will need to build up something great. And in 2024, the generative AI video landscape exploded. We first constrained to Runway, which used to hallucinate a lot, of course, with really weird effects. And then Pika joined, which is a bit similar. But also tools like Kling, Minimax, Mochi, which are less famous, are also entering the market right now. And the good news is that this competition is definitely benefiting us as customers. And similar to what we have done on Coca-Cola, we also contributed to some AI-assisted ads for a large cosmetics company, which was still a secret till yesterday. So if you look at the latest LinkedIn post of Dog Studio, you can find everything about it, even a process video behind the scenes. And hopefully we can share more about this project in the upcoming weeks, because it just went live. Yeah, and as a last proof of the progress in that field in 2024, to real-world updates as working in AI is sometimes very much of an echo chamber. James Cameron, famous of movies like the Titanic, recently joined the board of Stability AI, which is a nice collaboration and interesting collaboration as well. And one of the major players in the field as well. And Runway struck a deal with Lionsgate to further development of AI in film production, which is, of course, also huge nowadays with the help of AI in it. And after indignation, it sounds like Hollywood is drinking the Kool-Aid. And a few other cool things happened in 2024 as well. First, some products starting to mature as real-life creative partners, getting us closer to real-life versions of Marvel's Jarvis in Iron Man, and between ChatGPT's voice mode, Claude Sonnet, now capable of controlling your computer, or Cursor AI, here being used by an 8-year-old in this video to code a web page about Harry Potter, which is crazy. Like when I was 8 years old, I was just playing in the outside and doing that kind of things, and now people are making web pages at that age. And this recent case also caught my attention. Here, View glasses can convert 95% of speech to a text visible directly on the lenses, which is a huge leap forward to the deaf and hard of hearing people And this is also a really functional way of using AI, which I like. And it means AI is getting out of pure generation of video and imagery with tools like Midjourney and DALL-E, getting way more into our world without noticing it's AI anymore. And finally, we are entering our era of post-truth, needing us to even further question everything we see. AI started to be used as a VFX filter, allowing us to alter our perceived reality anywhere online. And more examples, but the idea is to shoot a video, isolate a frame, run it in the Gen AI image to video software, and re-edit the results together. And this is how it works, right? Combining tools, combining AI features, combining AI platforms, but also with the traditional tooling, you can create magic. So let's get to the end. What about 2025? Well, it seems like we are finally getting to the metaverse we were promised 5 years ago. And as technologies converge, the superimposition of reality and digital is happening right now, and both worlds merge together, like I said before. And there's only one way to achieve any of this. Get your hands dirty. Try those yourself. Spend a bit of cash on some licenses, apply to creative programs, short movies, etc. Just try it out. And this curve represents the feel of and sense of magic with these new technologies nowadays. And as you can see, we are already on our way down because it becomes more normal and we get used to it in our day-to-day lives. So enjoy this moment. It won't be long. Thanks, and back to you, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Martin. It honestly blows my mind just how much happened in 2024 in this space. So yeah, I feel like we can only imagine what's going to happen in 2025. And speaking about moving at pace, we are now going to head over to speak to Jeff, who's going to be talking about how we move at the speed of culture, how as brands we can take part in the trending on socials. So yeah, over to Jeff.
Very demure, very mindful.
Good morning. My name's Jeff, ECD at DEPT, and I'm going to talk a little bit about social trends and how brands can really tap into them. So I'm going to start with quite a provocative statement, which is that brands don't create culture, people do. But before we all quit our jobs, let's talk about turning this around a little bit. But thinking about the broader picture, year on year, traditional advertising figures have dropped, and the medium itself has got more global, universal, safer, and less culturally relevant as a result. And arguably a bit more boring as well, which has meant social has really taken that ownership. It's really become the home of entertainment with audiences. And we can see with increased eyeballs in social, I think it's 5 billion people chronically online at the moment. Online culture is now mainstream culture. So a lot of this is largely due to social trends. And these are sort of formats, these are cultural moments where people are increasingly participating in to feel more visible, connected to culture, and it gives them a platform to express themselves and gives them a way to comment on the world around them. And there's a lot of dissection we could do here. A lot of them are repeatable video formats, so like a template, something that people can pick up easily and then make it relevant for their own lives. A great example was the Gen Z writes the marketing script one we saw this year. Sometimes they're unintentional pop cultural moments. If you live in the UK and you saw the Willy Wonka experience up in Scotland, this was caused such uproar that people were tapping into that and copying it and having fun with that idea in their own worlds. And it was all became the home of sort of colloquial language like demure and mindful. And as Ali mentioned earlier, the word of the year, which was brat summer. So this idea of applying all these different things to the world around us accelerated and meant trends grew and grew and grew this year. This is a little sneak peek into one of my creators in our team's iPhone notes. These are just the 2024 trends that she kept notes of. There's so many. It's almost a new trend every few hours. It's kind of crazy to keep on track of them. but brands are. Brands are following suit, keen to keep up with the conversation, earn some free eyeballs, build some of their own cultural relevance within this space, and jumping on these trends. Now, we could spend the next hour talking about whether these are good examples, whether they're successful, but the point is brands are moving faster and faster to keep up with these trends. But things like trends that start cute, like Corn Kid, I'm sure you all saw that, where his really sweet interview and his little personal takes on corn being the juiciest thing he's ever eaten, become these lovely UGC comedy moments, conversations in various communities. But they soon inevitably get celebrity pickup and then traditional media pickup. And before you know it, brands jump in and it quickly becomes a little bit cringe, especially when it extends from a social phenomenon into online advertising. And in 2024, brands have been chasing this trend algorithm faster than ever and arguably suffocating trends before they even become part of culture. So this diagram sort of shows the life cycle of a trend, which is, in years gone by could be months, years even, but these trends are becoming hours and days. So some things are getting jumped on pretty damn quick by different generations and then brands and culture. And before you know it, they're killed. Which means culture becomes quite quick and fleeting. And we're not giving a chance for some of these trends to really take hold in culture. But what successful brands are doing, they're doing something slightly different. They're creating their own universes, which I'm calling social cosms, which sounds fancy in a deck, but let me explain what that means. So these are brands that know who they are and they stay true to it. Ryanair is a fantastic example. They're a cheap airline and they treat their customers and their audiences online in the same way. What do you expect from them? Complain about a seat, you'll get some shade back from them. And they're consistent with everything they do. They're not following trends in that respect. They're leading their own tone of voice and just really owning who they are. Another great example is Stanley Cups. So they've built a community around themselves. So building on fandoms around a product, working with creators to embellish, to transform their products and really sort of lean into a sense of community, which means they're not trying to appeal to everyone. They're trying to just grow the genuine love for their product. There's many, many other examples. But a lot of them have these same things in common. They don't try and hard sell. They don't try too hard. They own their faults and weaknesses, and they get out of their own way, which means they just they find out what works and they let it just go with it. So some of them do follow trends, but they don't just rely on trends. So 4 things we could expect to see more of in 2025. I think it's a bit more of those things. So brands will need to take a harder look in the mirror and be honest about what people need from them. So if you're a tax app, you're not going to try and be nutter butter. You're not going to try and be crazy. Perhaps a product demonstration or a helpful 101 video is actually what your customers want and need from you. So it's less about trend following and more about trend self-awareness and self-actualization. So be honest with yourself and do the things that are right for your brand. Brands will be finding long-term partnerships with creators that are their people, that really truly represent their brand. But they also give them the freedom to keep theirs. So it feels way less try-hard and more consistent and more distinct. So what you'll get is people that don't feel like they're hard selling and they feel like much more part of the ecosystem. And we've seen this with trends where creators have been given shares in the companies rather than just trying to advertise for them. We'll also see a seamless brand agency creator way of working. So a much more hybrid agency and brand mix. So seamlessly extend internal teams and that flexibility and pace of creators rather than all these competing factions. Obviously a shameless plug for what we do at DEPT, but not sorry about that. And then the final one is the way we make work. No strategy in the world would give you guaranteed success in social. So trend following, trend matching has a short-term hit, but actually what brands need to be doing is adopting a really prolific creator culture. So make, fail, learn, experiment, and repeat. Throw stuff at the wall, let it stick for 6 months, wipe it off, and go again. Because no stress in the world is going to tell you exactly what's going to work, and you've got to learn as you go and expect some failure as part of the mix. So in summary, I'll return to my original provocation with a little twist for 2025. Brands that behave more like people will be the ones creating culture. Thank you, and back to you, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I feel slightly less guilty about the time I spend on TikTok because I actually got every single one of the references on your slides. So moving from social and trends and how brands can show up to what we're calling the new era of commerce. And Nellika is going to take us through that.
Thanks to TikTok, Stanley's revenue jumped to $750 million.
It's better than an actual concert.
Walmart is finally complete.
Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Nellika. I'm media director here at DEPT, and I'm really happy to be here today and talk about the interconnection between media and commerce and how to tap into the latest trends in tech and consumer behavior, and also how brands can benefit from this. 2024 has seen profound changes in the landscape of media, as well as in commerce. We're on 3 devices at the same time. I hope you recognize that from yourself as well. And attention is really the online currency. If you look at TikTok and Instagram, for instance, we already mentioned a little bit in the previous talks. Once it was really a platform for spontaneous content sharing between friends and communities, making sure you share videos and your photos. And right now, today, it has transformed into a vast marketplace. Nearly 40% of Gen Z prefers using TikTok and Instagram for search over Google, as the results that they will see on those social media platforms are more tailored to their own preferences and things that they are interested in. So as you can see, the propositions of media channels are also changing, but it's driven by the way the people are using those platforms, which also means that for brands and companies, the way we use those media channels in order for our business and how to connect with our audiences, that also changes constantly. And if you look at influencers, they are now wielding immense power. Where they started as an extension of the brand, they're really now integrated with communication strategy. They have begun to redefine the meaning of affiliate marketing. They're not just salespeople anymore, they're really cultural intermediaries. And 71% of our consumer database is really also trusting the opinions of the influencers that they see. And I'm sure you recognize, maybe you made it also over the summer. Ellie, I'm sure you did as well. We did a cucumber salad from Logan that made cucumbers being sold out in Finland. The Stanley Cup really embraced also that their content creator strategy. They went viral with the burnt car. And as Jeff also showed, they really embraced that creator content, and they made sure that they increased their sales by tenfold. They went from $75 to $750 million revenue, which is insane. And it's really leveraged by tapping into that cultural relevance and also using creators as their spokespeople. And that we see that merging worlds also across marketplaces, for instance. We see creators are really the new storefronts. Amazon is continuing to expand. It's becoming really, really more dominant, while also new decentralized retail media channels are emerging. And it means that those marketplaces are also becoming the source of your audience strategy. They will have the insights of what people bought, what they're interested in, but also they develop their own media channels where we can reach this audience in a very specific way. The customer journey is like more scattered than ever, and this also provides challenges for retailers and brands. Especially also if we look at the different generations, they have different expectations also from brands and companies. Their media behavior really demands brands to the pro segments, to each of the individual needs and characteristics. If we look at Gen Z, they really grew up online. So culture and tech are really intertwined, and they really focus on the individuality and authenticity of a brand. And a lot of companies are focusing also on Gen Z as the next big consumer group, because together with the millennials, they will make up 90% of disposable income in 2026. And if we look at it from an innovation perspective, Gen Z also really influences the behavior of older generations, pulling them also into the new platforms, engaging them with content that they might have not come across themselves. But also it's interesting to know that Gen Z is still smaller than those older generations, right? The demographic reality is that over 30% of the population in developed nations are 55 years and older, while only 17% are Gen Z. And if you look at it from a general perspective, this has impacted overall consumer needs and expectations, as well in terms of guidance and accessibility of products and retail. And in general, across all generations, we're spending significantly more time at home than we were 2 decades ago. Brands and also retailers are recalibrating their strategies to meet the needs of a changing population that's less likely to visit physical stores. So that means the consideration phase also for certain brands is not taking place in the shopping street anymore. It's taking a place also very much online. And the shifts that we're witnessing are going beyond like market adjustments or sales distribution channels. They reflect really a deeper change in our social and economic fabric. The old dichotomy between branding and sales really has collapsed. Consumers expect a seamless blend of both, with precision and also personalization. You don't want to get a newsletter from your favorite brand, let's say ASOS, that is showing you the same jacket that you might have already bought a month ago. They really expect more from brands and making sure that they take into account all the data that's available. So in a way, commerce also has evolved into an extension of our identities. And businesses really must rise to meet this challenge by offering those personalized experiences. Well, the good news is that the infrastructure to deliver this is more accessible than ever. And we already saw a couple of examples of how AI can be leveraged into those solutions. And I'd like to share 2 of those examples that we've seen that also really illustrate what's possible connecting that data with personalization to make a better experience also for your customer. The first one is Rituals, which is the famous home and personal care brand. They're developing algorithms that predict what consumers will want to buy next, sometimes even before they realize it themselves. Based on all historic purchase data, all the profiles that they've gathered over the years, the AI model predicts through machine learning the probability for each product to be part of a customer's next purchase. It could be a product from the same collection, a product with similar benefits, or a complementary product. The best next offering is selected by the AI. The customer will see those top recommended products in their display marketing, in their retargeting, in the email updates, also on the website touchpoints. So that really makes sure that they get a personalized but also very sales effective experience, because the likelihood is bigger, and we see also then better results overall in engagement, but also definitely in sales. The second example that I want to show you is Omoda, which is an online fashion retailer. And what they've been doing is they've been looking at all their purchasing data as well. But they also have, of course, a big problem of people returning shoes in this case. And they look at the profit margin rather than at the revenue side of an order, making sure that through AI modeling, we can kind of predict, is somebody going to be likely to return products or not, and then optimize based on that real value rather than that overall revenue. So I think these 2 brands really show that how you can tap into the opportunities of tech and media, making also sure that it's also impacting your business in the end. Our main takeaways from this part is be where the consumer is, but also offer them full funnel interactions where you meet them across different platforms. Let them discover and shop brands at the same time, but also leveraging social commerce and marketplaces. The second one, we know that also instead of search, people are going to Gemini, they're going to ChatGPT. And Jean already mentioned, make sure that like generative engine optimized content will become part of your search strategy. For now, it's mostly organic, but paid advertising is right around the corner. And those AI agents will be giving recommendations about your brands, whether consumers are exploring or trying to find new solutions. And then the third takeaway is really the role of retail. Where we expect really the shopping experience to transform. People spend more time at home, more time online, less in the shopping street. They still will want to come to your retail store, but the experience will be more about the brand personalization rather than the product itself. We'll see physical retail primarily as spaces for returns, community engagement, but also, for instance, exclusive experiences. So the world of today really asks us to rethink the very foundations of retail, not as an end in itself, but really as an evolving system of human interaction. I hope this inspires you for some ideas for next year, and let us know. And back to you, Ellie, for now.
Thank you so much, Nellika. I can confirm that I did make that cucumber salad and it was delicious, and I thank TikTok for that. Now, what's really interesting, what's striking me in all of the talks today is the speed of change that we're talking about. And the next talk kind of alludes to that, but also really explores how we can continue to be agile, continue to move quickly, but also make sure that we're being ethical as we go.
I don't think we understand how fast technology is changing us.
What would it mean to align our tech to our values? And it's only a few good decisions away.
Hello, thank you, Ali. My name is Yash, and I am SVP for Experience and Engineering at DEPT. If you are anything like me, I'm sure you made it this far, your mind is blown with what you've seen so far. But when Martin talks about how AI and VFX can come together and alter my reality, I don't know whether I should be excited or worried. And on that note, let us look at what ethics have to do with the way we are building today's products, and what does it take to build agile ethical organizations. So two things have happened in 2024 that stand out when we look at how consumers and brands build trust in one another. And the age-old adage of moving fast and breaking stuff, we've seen a few examples of Humane, Rabbit Arrow, and a few other examples where today we realize that it's no longer acceptable. In minds of brands, governments, and consumers, if you break things, there's a price to pay for it. And the second thing is that AI, as it becomes more and more relevant, so does the bias in the products and experiences that have been launched. Because today AI can write, AI can read, AI can talk, but can we expect AI to be honest? And more than honesty, it's got to do with accuracy, right? How accurate are we training our models to be? And what does it take for us to bring the reality that we actually perceive? Sorry. So who carries the burden of this accuracy? It is the large companies that carry the heaviest load of practicing agile, ethical, ethics in an agile way. For example, Microsoft has been moving fast with OpenAI partnership. It is also proactively embedding ethical principles into agile workflows behind tools like Copilot. It's one of the best examples of how the whole community is coming together. Their AI for Good initiative and the efforts to create AI that is fair and transparent and are driven by internal values. So today, when we see the fundamental principles of AI around fairness, privacy, inclusivity, transparency, they're all being sort of laid down for us to draw inspiration from. But on the flip side, if you look at how IBM managed to get scrutinized for the facial recognition technology, where it misidentified individuals of color at a significantly higher rate compared to white individuals, we have to understand the bias that could come out of the kind of data, the kind of programming that we bring forth into the modern day ecosystem. And in response, IBM did strengthen its commitment to ethical AI, but not before it was too late. And hence, let us see, where do we draw inspiration from? Ethics is not a new subject. It's been around as long as I think human society has been. So where are the guiding principles for ethics today? So typically, if you look at it, two industries that come to mind of being ethical, agile, over a period of time have been fashion and fast food. And why these two? Well, it doesn't take much to realize how ethics become competitive imperative when you look at all the forces brands in the spaces must navigate. As if a brand falters, the price to pay today in today's social environment is really very high. And on that note, let us look at a few examples of brands that have really managed to navigate this landscape well. One of the examples that I'd love to talk about today is Euritech. It's a company that is focused on empowering fashion brands to make environmentally responsible decisions by forecasting trends using AI. By finding emerging trends earlier, fashion brands are able to make informed decisions on supply chain. And thus, the overall cost of waste or overall sustainability is much better. They place very high emphasis on transparency in data collection and analysis, ensuring their AI models are explainable and aligned with the privacy standards which build trust in users and their customers. So the other brand that we love to talk about is Patagonia. Patagonia is a DEPT customer and in many ways the gold standard for embedding ethical practices at speed, and they've been doing it for years. They have long focused on eco-friendly materials, and also their ethical commitment is public. They've sort of stood behind it, and they've aligned their production cycles, they've aligned their technology, they've aligned the supply chain, they've aligned all of their partners and suppliers to be in line with the ethical commitment that they have. And this is what makes them meet those ethical standards time and again. And lastly, many of us have heard about Impossible Foods. It's a food technology company that uses plant-based ingredients to transform the global food system away from animal-based products. Impossible integrates ethics into many facets of its operations, but a key element here is the consideration of the last mile of process. More often than not, the place where the deeper in your operation system you falter, the later is the outcome of that fault in your ecosystem. For example, if your packaging is bad, in all probability, no customer is going to buy it. But if some ingredient is mismanaged, the chances are the customer will figure it out after buying the product, after cooking it, after eating it. The later they figure it out, the higher the price the organization has to pay. And hence, ensuring that ethics are embedded overall across the ecosystem of the organization become extremely critical. So that now brings us to what do we expect happening in the next year? We expect to see brands go beyond just automating more than the new tools that they are today procuring. We expect brands to build a fair and responsible technology stack which is capable of bringing out the right message to the customer. We also expect to see evolution from all of the wait and see pilots towards brands that are using ethical tech frameworks to keep moving ahead of the competition. In the long run, we strongly believe that the brands that will have the most competitive advantage are the brands that invest in ethics today the most. So 3 takeaways that we have on this. First is in the area where of ethics becoming a part of your daily agile cycle, right? And we already spoke about how how it matters on where you falter on the ethical front. The lower scale of the deeper in operation you falter, the higher the price to pay. And hence, it is important that everything that you do from the quality of data to the kind of library that is used, everything falls in line of what your organization deems as ethical in terms of implementation, development, and so on and so forth. And second is to empower your teams to make ethical calls and give teams the ethical guidelines so that they can make calls on those decisions faster and on the ground instead of waiting for it to become an initial process or an end process. It is better that the agile process ethics becomes an integral part of your agile workflow. And finally, measure ethics along with economics. Many agile practices are tied to commercial outcomes, conversion rates, for example. However, you need to bring ethical KPIs and make sure that every single outcome that you have is measured against the ethics standard that you set for your organization. And on that note, that's all that I have. Back to you, Ali.
Thank you so much for closing us out, Yash. And thank you all for spending the last hour with us. We've covered so much. Some of the key takeaways from me is change. It's the only constant. Really, how do we lean into that? Well, focus on the foundations, whether or not that's your data or your strategy. Take risks, try, be open to failure. Lean into the changes in customer behavior. So if our customers are moving, follow or try and be there before they move. And then finally, embed ethics into your processes end to end. So with that, we'll close today's session. Thank you again so much for joining us. We will be sending a report out with what we covered today, but also quite a lot more because it was quite difficult to squeeze everything into an hour. So look out for that in your inboxes. But with that, thank you so much and have a great day.